What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about a number of things. Like, I know what the headline says, but there's a lot of stuff that has happened since I wrote that headline 12 hours ago. I'm going to get into those things with my best friend, Ron Taylor. Ron, what's up?
Hey, what's up? I heard that you're on a step mill. I heard that you got off the step mill. Heard that the step mill was reserved for people that are true fans, not turncoats like you.
Yeah. So there's this book called Monogamy by Sue Miller that I've been reading. That's all about, what people do when they're not, actively engaged in their marriage, or when they feel that their partner is not necessarily like all in on them. So they start putting their attention into other things, not necessarily other people. Say they open a bookstore, or they get into taking photos, get into photography or drawing, and they end up in an artist colony, and they meet somebody that's really cool over there, and they want to bring that person back to their spouse and be like, yo, I met this really cool person over here. Oh, so is this who you leaving me for? Yo, did we say that? Did we get there already? But since you brought it up, like, you haven't really been paying that much attention to me. So do you want to talk about it, or do we need to have a discussion? Because it's cool. Like, you signed a prenup. I'm going to walk out with what I walked in with.
It's not about seeing other people. Like, I'd say that the area that we're in, college football, hey, it's just open, right?
I'm sorry. We're talking about college football? I thought we were talking about cardio.
Huh.
I don't know. College football?
I'm throwing out a lot of life philosophies right now.
I mean, that's what I mean. The book is called Monogamy, and y'all can go check it out by Sue Miller. Yeah, like it's got some juice to it. There's gonna be some lulls there. I'm not sure exactly what Sue is actually grandly performing for, because this book takes place over several decades, but they're all kind of right there together. Not unlike the college football season this year, because the pandemic has really run together a lot of things, and we've seen more than 130 games canceled. For perspective, there are 130 FBS teams, and we're also getting wild rules for how the conference championships will be determined in, the event that there is a team that is ineligible to play due to COVID-19 protocols. And we've already seen the Pac-12 has made a farce of its championship. So, Ron, I wrote 3,000 words about, the conference championships to come that I thought were really the most fascinating. So I wrote about all 5 Power 5 conferences and the Sun Belt Conference and the American. And I thought I was going to talk a lot about the American and the Sun Belt today. And then, round about 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, the Pac-12 announced that Washington, the Pac-12 North Division champ, will not be playing in the Pac-12 championship game. They neither have the requisite 53 men on scholarship to play, nor a key position group that can play, because reports are the entire offensive line is in quarantine protocol at UW. So they win the Pac-12 championship, Pac-12 North Division championship, going 3-1. Okay, they were going to face a 5-0 USC. What I thought would happen is that you just declare USC the Pac-12 champion and get them set for their New Year's Six Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl. Not so, says the Pac-12. No. Oregon, who finished second in the Pac-12 North, will now represent the Pac-12 North in the conference championship game. So we could have a non-division title winner win the Pac-12's coveted championship. Ron, how do you feel about this?
I know that has to have been a time where this has happened before. To me, this is almost like a basketball issue where somebody puts in self-imposed issues on themselves. But I don't know if this is what you have in the barrel. Yeah, go ahead and shoot it. What's the Pac-12 going to do? Not play it?
Apparently that's just not going to happen. They're going to play a championship game. And I think there's a number of reasons as to why that happens. The first one is moolah, money, greenbacks, dinero. That stuff that Gordon Gekko is trying to get for you, and mostly for himself, right? He's trying to get this money in your hand. And I would add here that the Pac-12 has suffered as much as any, if not more, than any Power 5 conference when it comes to generating television revenue, because they've had so many games canceled, and They got off to a very late start to the college football season, in which they started the first week of November. Then you lose a game that probably had some Pac-12 South Division, ramifications with Colorado and USC because USC got to COVID. Colorado could have made this really interesting for the Pac-12 and make them make some real decisions if they were able to beat rival Utah last Saturday. They were not. Spoilers. So Carl Durrell finishes his season like 4-1, may or may not be able to schedule a bowl game, which is also interesting. Something else I want to bring up here. The NCAA's Football Oversight Committee has said, if you want to make up your own game after December 19th, we will let you. So if you want to accept a bowl game invitation like BYU and FAU and the roof exits, the roofs clips, the roof is on fire, Boca Raton Bowl.
Well, this is what I had hoped for whenever we had started the season. The 2020 was really whooping our tail, and we were saying, will we play college football? And some conference saying, yeah, we'll go ahead and do it, but everybody was not necessarily on the same page. And I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity for this to be pro wrestling. This is a great opportunity for somebody to point a finger at whoever across the country and say, you, a Saturday, let's do this for whatever belt we got. So if you want to go ahead and have a call your shot bowl, I actually don't think there's a better option that's something that should just stay.
See, this is interesting, right? Because you are a casual observer of college football. And by casual, sometimes the headlines come across your desk. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to watch this thing, probably talk about it on Monday with you. You might want to watch this thing. So, you don't have to fly blind if you don't want to. There are no requirements for Ron. He can show up and start talking about whatever. Point that I'm making here is you are not emotionally invested in this thing called college football, which is to say,
you're right. I'm not invested. I'm not showing up with a team. Right.
Well, I'm also saying you're not showing up with a 24/7 championship belt to lose. You know what I mean? That's what else I'm saying, because we're not actually talking about. We're not trying to think about the way to go about this.
No, let me have it.
I'm getting there. Because me, I'm an analogy guy. I'm an open and closed loops kind of guy. I'm trying to,
okay.
With the monogamy thing, while I was just showing off there for a second. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do here.
I'm gonna read the book, okay? I'll get to it.
No, but they not gonna read the book. Hold up, we got a super chat. Myron Kidd. What's your thoughts on ARC player basically gator rolling Devontae Smith's ankle? I feel like you want me to answer that question that you've already answered the question for, dog. You spent $5 on that.
Appreciate it. Gator rolled that dude's ankle.
I mean,
got it in one.
We saw it. You saw it. What do you want me to say about it? Except what everybody else has said about it. It's the same thing people are saying about Marco Wilson throwing his shoe or throwing the LSU player's shoe. Matter of fact, that actually does lead me into something. Ron, Ed Orgeron did his coaches conference today. The man said, all I want for Christmas is some shoes. I don't know why. LSU just, and they accuse me of taking taking shots at people, right? They accuse me of coming off the top rope for no reason. What Ed Orgeron ain't got nothing to gloat about except that game, and he is already going in.
You beat a number 6 University of Florida. This would be different if LSU had pulled one out against Coastal Carolina in the fourth quarter due to a shoe. But Florida, yeah, they could absolutely get a shoot dig in there. Good on Coach O, right?
Yeah, well, all right.
I can't take up for Florida on this one.
Well,
right?
I mean, it's hard to take up for either one of them on this because, Dan Mullen gonna come out in his teleconference on Sunday and say Marco Wilson made a football move, throwing that shoe 20 yards downfield. It
was
will
clown makeup.
Just putting on
an absolute tutorial.
That's what I'm trying to get at here, right? Like when we make these jokes about this sport that I like, that I think is cool, that I also have to look dead in the eye and be like, you are unserious right now. You are an unserious sport. Like, Yo, how do we determine the college football playoff national champion? Do we have a playoff where we have division title winners or conference championship winners that get to play against each other? You know, like the NFL or high school or FCS or any other major team sport? No. We got selectors. We got 11 selectors who get to designate using math or some other sort of poll and or formula who is the best team in college football. Well, they can't play each other. They can't play each other all the time. Man, you think every one of the 32 teams in the NFL play each other every year? Nah, dog. The best records get into this thing called a playoff, and we go into tournament round robin fashion. And now we got to talk about the unserious among us in when it's determined a conference championship because they need to get this money. I get that. I understand. But you can't expect me to take the Big 12 seriously when it's like, yo, in the event that Oklahoma or Iowa State can't play in the Big 12 championship game this Saturday, we're not going to just name Iowa State the conference champion, even though they are the 1 seed and they have won more games than anybody else this year. We're not going to do that. No. We're going to say if Iowa State or Oklahoma can't go, the team in third place gets to play for the Big 12 championship on Saturday, which is to say if Iowa State or Oklahoma have the COVID protocols preventing them from playing on Saturday in Jerry World, here comes Texas. Which also leads to this logical, if technically sound, but ridiculously without common sense, Baylor and Oklahoma State, or Baylor and Kansas, more to the point, Baylor and Kansas could play for the Big 12 championship if you just keep going down the list of dudes among this 10-team league that can't play. And Kansas, for those of y'all that don't know, went 0-9. 0-9. Lost their last game of the season to COVID. They were going to play Texas. And then, let me go on another scooter trail here. News came out today. Jim Harbaugh. What'd y'all do over the weekend, seeing as there was no Ohio State-Michigan game? Oh, you know, we were supposed to play on Saturday, but we had a really spirited practice on Sunday. Hold up, time out. What? You did what? I thought y'all told us that y'all had the COVID and y'all couldn't play on Saturday. We did. That's what happened, and that's what we told y'all. But you had enough to have a spirited practice on Sunday? You don't think that sounds sketch? You don't think that sounds shady? Next question. I mean, I'm making up the last two responses there, but everything up until we had a spirited practice on Sunday is legit and on the level and real. An unserious sport. I love it, but it's an unserious sport. And that's what I love most about it. But I love it being an unserious sport because we get to make these jokes about it. Otherwise, you will just get angry and mad, which is why I was talking about emotionally invested early on.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay. Because, like, I'm looking at this going, like, dude in here has just been spamming the comments going, what's your top 10? All the undefeated teams, then all the 1-loss teams, then all the 2-loss teams, then all the 3-loss teams. That is how I would do my rankings because this is
in alphabetical
stupid.
order.
You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, it's ridiculous. Yo, man, Coastal Carolina doesn't need to be in the playoff. I understand why you say that. I understand your argument. I am not insensitive to the point that you're making because, as has been pointed out, everybody want to be Oklahoma. Everybody want to say they went to the playoff without ever acknowledging they gonna get boat raced in the playoff by the number 1 team. We have Oklahoma to show for this.
Please let Oklahoma end the season with a win.
Well, see,
please, just once.
That's the thing, though. They can, right? And most Oklahoma fans would tell you they don't want any part of the playoff. None. Zero. Zilch. Let somebody else go in there. We retooling for 2021 when I expect Oklahoma to actually be good enough to win a national championship. But my goodness, man, like, Texas A&M is like, no. We want in. You lost 52-17 to Alabama. You want a rematch? Yeah, we want a rematch. They ain't never been. They ain't never been in the playoff. And that's what I'm saying. Alabama would have no problem skipping it like they did last year if they're not good enough to make it. Why? Alabama's won 5 national championships in the last decade. Okay? Winning fatigue. Winning means you're kind of getting tired of winning. You lose your respect for winning. Then you have somebody like Oklahoma or say Washington 2016 who ain't won no national championship in decades. And they're like, yo, man, just a shot, any chance, we'll take any chance, which is the same thing as saying, I'm thirsty. I got something in this cup over here. It might be water. It might be gasoline. Do you still want this cup? Yes, because there's a chance that there's water in it. But you know what ends up being in there? Sewage, toxic waste. Like, God just, and that's the thing though, right? Like, I think if we were having a 16-team playoff, Oklahoma would probably lose along the way. But Oklahoma would be like, we made the quarterfinals or we made the semifinals, maybe, right? Maybe.
But if this is like basketball, we hang up Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Final Four banners.
He's on my screen over here. That's why I'm pointing over here. But that also would mean that you have to change how people view the sport. And I'm the only person apparently that wants to change how the sport is actually done. Because I get into this conversation with the old heads all the time about they're not that good. Prove it. Scoreboard says they are. Scoreboard says they won every game. We know that Alabama would boat race them. Then put them up against Alabama. I don't want to waste that game. What you mean waste that game? Who's going to beat Alabama this year? Who's somebody else is more deserving? How? They lost the game. They lost the game to Alabama. They lost the game. And round and round and round we go, right? Like that's where we're at. So and then we got dudes like Dabo Swinney out here talking about, oh, so we can just play 6 games, get in the playoff? It's a pandemic, dog. That you were getting to play a playoff at all. You know? Then again, Dabo came out here and compared surviving a pandemic to Normandy. Couldn't be me. So there's a lot to say about this, but also we haven't actually I should say, but I don't think enough people are giving Nick Saban and Alabama their due. Because what do we know? We know that Nick Saban missed a game due to COVID, but all the principles that Alabama needs to be available to be the Alabama that they are have been available. Patrick Surtain, Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith. I mean, Jalen Waddle goes down with injury, not COVID. You know what I mean? That offensive line is... Sam Pittman is the head coach at Arkansas. Sam Pittman was the offensive line coach at Georgia, right? One of the elite recruiters, one of the elite developers of offensive linemen in college football. He said, do you think he was asked, who do you think among Alabama should be the Heisman front runner, like Devontae Smith and Mac Jones? That man said the offensive line.
This is one of those this is luck. This is the requisite amount of luck that you need to be a truly great champion. Because if you have great luck, you're Alabama. If you have mostly great luck, you're Clemson.
I would even say if you have mostly great luck, you're LSU, because they've won 3 national championships in 2 decades. What has Oklahoma been except unlucky? And how 2017 is unlucky. You're the better team. You're up 17. You know, you blame the squib kick, but that game went to OT. You had a chance to get there. I would also look around and say 08, you were unlucky. That Florida team is a monster. And that's the worst part is this is one of the best Oklahoma teams of all time. It's one of the best teams of all time. We're making a top 25 list, right? You would put that 08 Oklahoma team ahead of several national champions because they were just that loaded. And yet Florida said, Percy Harvin, Tim Tebow, Aaron Hernandez, we're coming for your cap. Okay? Coming for your whole cap. I think being the requisite amount of lucky is also just that sauce. Because what if Clemson didn't play in the ACC? Would we care about Clemson? Would Clemson even have a shot to play for a championship?
Like you say, if you swap Coastal Carolina and Clemson, just straight up.
Straight up. What do we say about the ACC the last 5 years? Right? It's basically, it was Florida State, and then right after Florida State fell off, here comes Clemson. Outside of that, you don't trust anybody else in that league, man. You don't.
So say, do we have any mid-major type or programs in college football? Say going to college basketball, where you can have a team like Memphis that has just 9 draft picks on the roster, but plays a conference of nobodies.
Central Florida would be 1. We'll see what happens with Coastal Carolina after this year. The problem with having like gigantic major mid-majors is, unlike basketball, good coordinators and head coaches get plucked because they walk up to you and say, do you want to make $500,000 at Coastal Carolina? Do you want to make $5 million at South Carolina? You know, like that's what it is. They don't do that in basketball, right? Because quite honestly, 1, you ain't got that much money to go around. And 2, there ain't but like 5 blue blood jobs in college basketball, right? There are only 5 jobs that people want. You want Kentucky. You want Duke. Jim Boeheim wants Syracuse. People used to want UConn. You want Kansas, and you want North Carolina. After that, what are we talking about?
I'm just saying, like, if it happened this season, because this is just bench racing a thought, that if a team that was from a conference that didn't play nobody, that passed the eyeball test with
like Gonzaga,
the talent they have on top, like a Gonzaga, no, that's obviously a top 5 ball club.
Yes, but we had to look up what conference they play in. Like that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm making the comparison. We had to look up West Coast Conference.
Yeah, we did. Like I remember that it was the WCC, but I didn't know what they stood for.
I was like, man, that's
all I knew was like, oh, that's a 2-team conference. It's St. Mary's and Gonzaga, right?
And I got that confused
swap back and forth
with the WEC, which is a fighting promotion. So like that's where it was for me. So you're basically saying Fresno State out of the whack, right? You're saying Tulsa out of the whack. Tulsa out of Conference USA. Yeah, out of Conference USA. Like, I also had, or Missouri Valley. I had to look this up for the piece that I wrote because Cincinnati's going to play Tulsa at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati for the American Championship. And the American, at least its like Twitter account and its like commissioner have been very, very pro Cincinnati the last week and a half because they're trying to get their team into the playoff, right? Tulsa's looking around going, wait a second, aren't we playing for a championship? Didn't they have this game moved 3 times? Don't we have perhaps the Butkus Award winner, if not the Nagurski Award winner? And if it ain't him, it's got to be Mike Rose. The point is, Tulsa feels some kind of way about that. What if Tulsa goes up to Cincinnati, hands Cincinnati this L, walks out with that banner? How is the American going to treat them? Because Cincinnati is trying to get to that place, right? Because Cincinnati, Memphis are also those major mid-majors. What happened? Mike Norvell went to Florida State, right? I expect Luke Fickell is waiting on a job that he wants to leave Cincinnati. But here's the problem. He got a Matt Campbell problem. His dream job is in Columbus. Mm-hmm. Now, Luke Fickell was the head coach in Columbus for a year when they were under, tremendous sanctions. And then Urban Meyer comes in there, makes him the defense coordinator. You go undefeated in 2012, and they still can't play for a national championship because they got a bowl ban. Like, I need to write about that team. That team was so stacked and so good and should have never been that good that quickly. But, like, could Cincinnati be the answer to your question is what I'm asking. If Luke Fickell is forced to stay there for another year. Because I don't think it's going to be longer than that, even though the Ohio State job's not going to come open. He'll go somewhere else.
No, Cincinnati could absolutely be that school. Cincinnati's good, like no doubt about it. But because when we talk, because we've been talking all week about Ohio State. Actually, we've been talking all year about Ohio State. But Ohio State has just so many people on the roster that it almost didn't matter how many games that they played. That as long as they were undefeated, they were going to be in the top 10.
Eye test. Eye test. I'm blind in both eyes, but I can tell you, like, man, I hate the eye test. I hate, perhaps it's because I think of myself as a group of 5 school, like eye test. I'm beating everybody they put in front of me. Eye test. Like, how does USC feel? Because nobody's going to award them a national championship. Like, none of the selectors are going to put USC at the top of any ranking. And yet they could finish undefeated, 6-0 with a conference championship, go to the Fiesta Bowl, get a W. Where do you put them?
It's the year of the asterisk. Like that's what I've been saying. It's like, hey, what happened that year? Yeah, asterisk, dog. You do whatever you want. I don't care. We'll see. We'll see. Class out. We'll see everybody in 2021.
We could do this every year though, right?
Yes.
And that's why I hate it. That's why I hate saying this is the year of the asterisk, because we could do that every year. Every single year. Like Central Florida. Asterisk. They didn't play a tough schedule. They didn't? Are you serious? They didn't beat nobody. They beat a top 10 Auburn in the Peach Bowl. Come from behind and do it. Yeah, well, Auburn lost to Bama, so, and Bama won the national championship. Yes, Bama is the consensus college football national championship, or national champion. But until y'all want to put together a system where Central Florida has to play Alabama. So, and then they get mad at me because I'm like, no, I recognize more than one national champion because they didn't lose. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here?
You can't have more than one national champion, though. That's a singular title.
The NCAA
is like co-champions?
is all but inciting it by saying we don't pick the FBS national champion, and we are not going to force the Power 5 conferences to institute a playoff that would allow for just one national champion. What we will do is give you these 11 selectors who will tell you what they think is, and then you can, claim it from there if that's what you want to do. And then the Power 5 are like, yo, we have the most money. We think we should put together what the college football national championship looks like. And NCAA is like, cool, do what you want to do. And ESPN and Fox and CBS all like, so, y'all want to put this on TV? How y'all think about, what y'all, three games? TV? What you think? Hey, we need you to have a conference championship. Why? Because you're trying to get us to figure out a definitive champion of our conference? Nah. Put that on TV, baby. Put that on TV. What you think? And it ain't like they were doing this like in the 21st century. This was happening in the 60s, in the 70s, and the 80s. It happened when OU sued the NCAA going, how dare you prevent us from playing on television more than twice a year? Are you kidding? We are the University of Oklahoma. Because of y'all, we went and won a national championship in a year that nobody got to see us on television. Are you kidding? You had Joe Paterno in 69 talking about, wait a second, did I just hear President Nixon say he's going to award the national champion to whoever wins Texas, Arkansas? Oh, what? Yeah, so like what had happened was, Nixon trying to win the presidency again, and it was real slim in that Texas area, like George Wallace was really gaining on him. So we were thinking if he came up with this plaque that we could present to the winner, they number one, number two. He didn't make the rankings. They made the rankings. He could give him the plaque. Yo, we have won 29 straight games. We are undefeated up here in Penn State. What do you mean they get to be, one of them get to be the national champ? Hey, man, look, I tell you what, let me go talk to Tricky Dick. Get back to you. So, Tricky Dick, we got a problem here, man. We got a problem because, I know we want to win these votes down there in Texas and Arkansas, but we got to have Pennsylvania too, baby. Like, it's going to get tight. So, I'm going to tell you what. How about this? How about if Penn State wins their bowl game, we give them a plaque that says, congratulations on having the nation's longest winning streak. What you think? Yeah, send that back to them. Let them know how to, yeah. It's like the same thing. It's like being a national champion. Same thing. And Joe Paterno over here flipping tables as Penn State goes 11-0 and finishes number 2 in the final AP poll. And guess who Tricky Dick awarded the plaque to in the Texas-Arkansas game?
Who?
Texas, for which we get to say 1969 Texas, not only national champ, but the last all-white team to win a national championship. And when you figure out that Richard Nixon was trying to beat out George Wallace, the world makes even more sense. So this is why I keep saying college football is an unserious sport, but I love it so much. It's so fun because we get to have those stories. We get to have those discussions. We get stuff like Woody Hayes not crossing the 50-yard line for 10 friggin' years to shake Bo Schembechler's hand. We get the 10-year war because Michigan had the audacity to knock off Ohio State in a year where they thought that they were going to win the national championship in 1969. Remember all these things coming together in 69. You have the birth of the super conferences because Joe Paterno was way out front going, hey, you know what? We should actually put together something like a playoff. But not a playoff, but like put all the good teams together and then decide amongst ourselves who gets the television revenue and then decide amongst ourselves who gets to win the championship, because there's a lot of dough to be made. Joe Paterno is also the dude that walked out of like a press junket where they were advertising all these college football games going to be on television because he found out that they weren't going to play Penn State games in the city of New York, like in New York City. He said, to hell with this, I'm going home. Y'all want to keep me? I got to recruit over there. You know, and that's why one of the reasons why Notre Dame keeps saying, yo, dog, we don't want to be a part of a conference. We'll do it this year, but we're not going to do it the other years. Why not? Because you know how much money we make barnstorming as Notre Dame? Are you crazy? Do you know what kind of loot we bring in by playing games in Texas, L.A., Pennsylvania, New York, California? Are you kidding?
We're a party everywhere we show up.
Right. We got all these people that didn't go to Notre Dame that can't wait to cut us a check. What you think we used to make money at this private Catholic university, sir? This man over here thinks we ought to join a conference. This man over here wants to take money out of our pocket. Somebody get this dude up out of here. You know? Meanwhile, the ACC is going through a regime change because Doc, let me see, not Doc. I'm going to get to Doc's comment here in just a second. That's why we came up. But going through a regime change because Jack Swafford is stepping down. They went and got the Northwestern athletic director to take over that job. So they about to have a bunch of purple ties in there. Meanwhile, the Big Ten is going to be like, oh, word? Okay, cool. Let me see. Doc Wentz, no boogie in here. I'd like to know, how could the president know so little about Watergate in 1973 and so much about college football in 1969? Man, that's a muddy quote.
America, dog.
That's a muddy quote. My God. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. This is why I love this sport right here, because stuff like that exists. We got the head coach of college, got the head coach of Penn State calling out the president on Watergate and the 1969 national championship in the same sentence. Like, on top of all of this, some news that probably never came across your desk, Ron. I'm going to string together some facts for you. Some facts. Texas Tech boosters put together an independent investigation to find out whether or not Art Briles was at fault during the sexual assault scandal at Baylor. They concluded what Baylor concluded, which is that Art Briles didn't actually do anything wrong except be the head coach of a group of men who are objectionable. Art Briles lost his job. Art Briles goes to coach football in Italy for a while, comes back, takes over the head coach job at Mount Vernon ISD. Texas Tech boosters have decided we want to get Art Briles to come in here to coach this team because we're tired of losing. Matt Wells just got there. Today, Matt Wells fired the offensive coordinator he brought with him from Utah State, David Yost. It's the same day Art Briles resigned as the head coach at Mount Vernon ISD. We know Tech boosters wanted to hire Art Briles. We also know Art Briles was an assistant at Tech about 15 years ago on Mike Leach. We also know Art Briles is not really in this to be anybody's assistant. So, with the Auburn job open, the Illinois job open, Vanderbilt, I think, just got taken by Clark Lee, Notre Dame defense coordinator. Congratulations to him. With the Arizona job open, and now with the offensive coordinator job open at Texas Tech, and with Art Briles deciding that I'm gonna come up out of Mount Vernon, where do we see Art Briles next, Ron? Is it Texas Tech? Because I think that's the betting favorite. Or is it head coach at literally anywhere else?
I think that it might be like in my heart. I want him to get a phone call in the middle of the night and say, "Yeah, Vandy, I'll be there. SEC West. I heard it's crazy over there. Do you want more of it?"
As offensive coordinator? Because Clark Lee just took it as a head coach. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Okay, you're right.
Okay.
But
not Illinois. You want to see me in Illinois?
like my biggest problem with, like, I don't have a problem with Art Briles per se. Like the thing with Art Briles is that he's to me such a persona non grata. Like if you want to hire Art Briles for your job, you want to get some wins, fine. I don't have a lot of words to give to you, but the idea that you would put your anybody that has to speak to the public or your marketing team having to answer the questions about Art Briles all the time, that's a big old headache. That's a big old headache. Why would anybody want that?
Because apparently, the cynical note on that is winning trumps all. We don't actually care about, the morality of the situation. These are things that are overcome. Winning matters most. And when you find out how Baylor was run at the time that they were winning, you would ask questions like, yo, man, that's bad. Yo, what are we doing here? Like, we're winning. That's what we're doing here. And, it also comes back to who are the dudes that you are recruiting. Because if you want to get good in a hurry, there's a way to do that. It's not always the way that your university president would want it to go. See Jimmy Johnson and Tad Foote at the University of Miami. By the way, I got Kane Mutiny on the shelf finally. I found a copy of it. I got to go through it. It's about Jimmy Johnson's
let me know how that goes.
Miami Hurricanes. Oh yeah, I'm gonna run it up. But I gotta also believe that like LSU is run not dissimilarly. Y'all win, and please stay out of trouble if at all possible. But y'all win.
Right. Yeah, I'm not naive and say like we've gone through for the past 100 years. Like we know that college football is not high level college football is not 100% of the time, 100% clean all the time. But there's a thing that happens if you are the manager or the operator of a system of an office of an administration, that if you get caught, it's like, oh wow, if you like, when do you ever stop being hot for being caught?
Well, and that's also what's at stake with Hugh Freeze, because his name is being brought up many times over in connection to Auburn, and it's been said that the SEC is not going to say anything about any team that wants to hire Hugh Freeze to be their head coach, seeing he has served whatever penalty that it is that he needed to serve. You'll remember Hugh Freeze, dude that got caught with the escort service in his phone, in his business phone. Okay. Also, it's the dude that's being gassed up with wins against Alabama, where the turnover margin was +6 for him in both of those wins. Shout out to Alan Kennedy for coming up with that fact. So, like, great offensive mind, but your defense was actually rolling, right? And Alabama was giving you the ball. It's a lot. I don't know how you ascend to the top of people's minds in this way unless you have an outstanding offense. Because, like, Kevin Steele is defense coordinator at Auburn, going to be the interim. I've thought of Kevin Steele as a great defensive mind for years, right? With stops at a lot of places in the Southeastern Conference, and really with connections and an understanding of recruiting the area. But we have such a fascination with offensive minds that we will even throw out things they did wrongly in the public because we really want to see that team come over here or that dude come over here and score a bunch of points, which is,
So, I mean, that's fair. Like, because that's what that's what we remember about sports. Like, if you throwing up big points, that's the summer blockbuster. That's what we want. Like, other than like looking at sports in an academic way or just like a super insider way, but like as a fan, yeah, give me a 120-point game, please, thank you.
Points, sell tickets, defense wins championships. And as a college football fan, I got to tell you, the teams that I remember are not Ron's 6-3 defensive struggles.
It's the greatest game that's ever been played. Thank you.
The teams that I remember are they have really cool names to their offensive schemes, like air raid and run and shoot and fun and gun. Okay, like the veer is fun because you can score 100 points with the veer, not because anybody watching the veer think that is fun. Matter of fact, I'll give you another example, a recent example, without having to pull out 1968 Houston versus TU. I'll go 2 days ago. UNC put up 62 on the U. Who? Miami with 554 yards rushing, and I had a ball watching it. Why? Because them boys were galloping, just straight galloping. Secretariat war emblem just going straight for your jugular. Mike Carter, shout out to you. Javonte Williams, shout out to you. Phil Longo, my goodness. Shout out to you because y'all are running it up. That's what I like. So if you can run triple option and you can get me 63 a game, I will watch it because I know in the course of scoring that 63, I'm going to have fun. You know what I'm not having fun doing? Watching dudes fill. There's nothing fun about watching a safety fill. Nothing fun about that. There's nothing fun.
Outside and out of bounds.
Oh my God. There's nothing fun about scraping. Okay? That ain't fun. There's nothing fun about watching hand fighting. I don't care to watch Aaron Donald and Kung Fu fight. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for 5-step drop bomb. That's what I'm here for. Unless you are Steve Slayton and Pat White. In which case, you can do whatever you want. Because I know ain't nobody going to catch you. Matter of fact, one of the coolest things that I saw, we talk about spread and goal line offense and the spread. People are like, why don't you just go under center, yada, yada. Phil Longo came out in like a bunch formation that looked like an inverted diamond and then spread it out to where you had one-on-one matchups on the outside looking like you're going to throw the ball. And they just optioned off the defensive end, like they left the defensive end unblocked. He crashed down, pitch, in. I'm going, this is beautiful. That's gorgeous. Because you have everybody thinking, oh, they get one-on-one man. Nah, we're going to isolate this end right here. We're going to put him in a trick bag.
I was about to say, he's the whole game. I hope he's ready for the spotlight.
Thank you for catching that, Doc. I was just about to delete those. Appreciate that. Matter of fact, I might take it a little bit further here. Good looking out.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah, nah. I hate it when people spam the comments, man. Like, the conversation is the conversation. Anyway, leads me to another question I have going into the season, or to the end of the season, I should say. What's going to be the most entertaining championship game this weekend? And I will give you some options. Okay? And you can go straight up, with the team that I think you're going to pick, or you can just be like, I don't know, I want carnage. Because it's Ohio State Northwestern, in which case we only get chaos and carnage if Northwestern beats Ohio State, which is not likely, as Northwestern has the least, they have the widest spread of any conference championship game this year. Wider than Alabama and Florida, which is a 16.5. Ohio State is a 21.5 point favorite against Northwestern. USC is a 1 point favorite against Oregon, right? We also have the Big 12 championship. Oh, here's a stat. I'm going to throw this one out to you. There are 4 losses that are going to get played in the Big 12 championship. Okay? 4 losses. There are 4 losses total across the American, the Sun Belt, the Big 10, and the Pac-12 championship games.
Parody. That's what I love to hear.
God. And we
once again, that's 2 knives that have been sharpened by each other.
So when you say, yeah, this is the year where you could say we got a belt, you want to play for it. I mean, somebody got to be Big 12 champion. This is how it feels.
Somebody's got to walk off the field with the last win of the conference season. Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. Earlier, whenever I brought it, was like, hey, you got to throw an asterisk at people.
Right.
Sometimes you got to be benevolent with it. It's like, we realize that stuff's been tough. I just want you to know that we don't think that you're bad, but this year was just bad. Here, have this.
No, my name is Dabo Sweeney, and my name is Dan Mullen, and we should have played fewer games.
Shift 8 all the time. Shift 8. Yeah, if I had to choose anybody, I'm picking Alabama of Florida. Florida's like it's fun football. After that, maybe Ohio State and Northwestern, because Ohio State does have a weakness, and you could see a story happening.
But Northwestern can't exploit it. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's like I'm pointing at Northwestern saying, throw it, run seams and flag routes, isolate the safeties, go for it. You can have it. And Pat Fitzgerald and Northwestern gonna be looking at me like, we can't make those passes. Well, that we gotta play old man pro football. We got to make like it's 1986.
You have to have the requisite amount of luck.
You're going to that's what LSU got. LSU got the requisite amount of luck. They got 3 interceptions out of Kyle Trask, and they got Marco Wilson literally throwing the game away. and then still super underrated because we were all having too much fun with Marco Wilson tossing this shoe. Cade York nailed a 57-yarder in the fog. Yo, Ron, he couldn't see the uprights. He said, nah, it's cool. I got this Superman X-ray vision. And I
know they are.
Got this anvil for a leg. Because, like, it looked good from 65. It was straight. It was true. It was money. It was new. Just bang. And I'm like,
that's what tells me that he wasn't even looking at the uprights. He said, I'm hitting this.
I'm just going to bond this. Like, just say, hey, give me, let the big dog eat. Give me.
Full sin, 10/10.
Right? We just, either we're going to get there in one on this par 5, or we're going to crush a car. We're going to lose this in the trees. Well, it's all or nothing right now, baby. That's what we're doing. And that man yanked it. Like it was, And I'm looking at that going, and then, Florida had half a second there to try to make something happen. And then they had a kicker. They gave that kicker a shot. Kicker pulled it wide left. To which my favorite comment on the video that I posted, reacted to it later Sunday morning, like 1 a.m. was, Sarah Fuller makes that kick for Florida. It was just, that is when this community is amazing. Right there. The channel comments community was like, nope, I got you, RJ. Sarah Fuller makes that kick for Florida. I had to catch my breath. When I read that. I came unglued. I was howling. It's almost as good as Piers Morgan saying, why did everybody keep calling me the bag lady from Home Alone 2? The pigeon lady?
No, I missed that one.
She had all the pigeons on top of her. She was like the person that was scaring Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
yeah. People keep asking Piers Morgan if he's her.
Oh,
yeah. No. Money. Needed that. Needed that. But no, like, so outside of that, I think Coastal Carolina ULL is going to be fun because that game was close the first time they played. ULL's got a coach that has been in the running to get a job somewhere for like a hot year, Billy Napier. I also think that the American could be fun because Tulsa's all defense, and it's which version of Zach Smith are you going to get?
Right. See here, when you posed that to me, you gave me those choices, but heavily weighted towards the people that are at the top. But
Sure.
Let me tell you, there's not a more entertaining team in all of America than the University, or not team. Teams that play games than University of Tulsa. It's a cardiac situation every week.
Mm-hmm. And since you're getting all of that.
Yeah, like when you say like handing Cincy a loss, it's like, well, if they do, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Games at 2:30 on ESPN. For those of you that want to know, I'm pissed that Ohio State and Oklahoma both play at 11 a.m. Big 12 championship and the Big 10 championship. One's on Fox, one's on ABC. Of course, the SEC championship is at 7 o'clock that night. And I think Coastal Carolina and ULL play at 2 o'clock also. So, just in case you were wondering, right, with the exception of whenever Alabama plays, the prime slots are 11 a.m., the booty slot is 2:30, and then the okay slot is 7 o'clock because most of y'all get up in the morning, go eat your cereal, and then plop in front of the football game with the thinking that y'all will keep watching the same channel the rest of the day because you're just lazy. I don't know. It couldn't be me. I got three screens going. So I'm going to get mine. I only get 12 of these. Hell, if
2 phones, iPad, laptop, and 2 TVs.
About to say, if you're an Ohio State fan, you only get 6 of these. And one of them is the Big Ten championship. Nah, I'm here for it. All right, Ron, you got anything else you want to get in? You want to get off your chest? Because we didn't talk about this movie Safety at all.
I'm still working my way through how I feel about Safety. I don't like it, but that just might be me and not liking Disney family sports movies. And like I have the small little project where I'm going back and watching a lot of football movies. And like, because I think like the last football movie that I watched that as it came out might have been the Titans. Like that might be like that might be like that might be the last football movie that I watched as it was new. Because there's been a whole bunch that come out, a lot of faith-based movies. I haven't watched them, but anyway, go watch Safety. Tell RJ what you think. He's not on Twitter. That's all I got.
Not enough cussing in that movie.
There wasn't.
Not enough cussing in that movie. All this yelling ain't enough cussing in this movie. Also, put on Ron's tombstone. Never volunteer for cardio.
Oh, wow. Well, if whatever. Use that whatever context you need to. I stand by it.
There you go. All right. That's going to do it for us. Catch y'all